As the Kansas City Chiefs get ready to wrap up their preseason against the Cleveland Browns, today we will take one more step back into Week 2's preseason game and we will view 3 players whose stock is up and 3 players whose stock is unfortunately down. And with that, Chiefs Kingdom, let's cut the chit chat and let's have some fun. Now, before we get into stock up and stock down, we will be back live this Saturday for the Kansas City Chiefs' final preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. So Chiefs Kingdom, be ready. Please be sure to hit that notify button, subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on the live stream. I'm going to give you my live reaction, and we're just going to talk some good Kansas City Chief football, and it should be a really great time. Now with that, let's start with the stock up and stock down, and we're going to dive right into the positive because that's always a good trend to go with. And we're going to start with the rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice. And honestly, throughout training camp, and now he's putting back-to-back multiple games together, he has looked so great, and he's looked everything we have asked for. And I thought it was a rich take earlier on, even though it wasn't that crazy, where I said Rashee Rice will put up better numbers than what Sky Moore did in his rookie year. Again, nothing too crazy or absurd, but when you're on the outside looking in, we know how rookies transition into Coach Reid's offense, and it takes some time. I don't know. Something with Rashee Rice tells me he's going to be implemented into this offense early on, and he might be a key target for Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it in the preseason games. We're seeing it in training camp. Now, does that mean that's what's going to happen in regular season? I don't know, but what I do know is he's a different type of weapon that Patrick Mahomes isn't used to having. And if things get clicking early on, he may be that wide receiver number 1. That may be the richest take, but what I don't believe is out of the ordinary is I do believe Coach Reid will scheme him up, will get plays out there, and if he can capitalize on those plays, he may be a threat in his rookie year. Now, of course, we got to talk about the negatives. We got to do the thumbs down, and it's going to be Chris Jones, but it's not for the reasonings why everyone thinks. I mean, of course, it has part to do with it because of his contract negotiations is the reason why he's not there. But as I mentioned in my most recent video, Week 1 is now 14 days away. And even if he was to sign the contract now, there's no way, at least in my head, that he is going to be the Chris Jones that we're used to seeing Week 1. And I really believe when it comes to Coach Reid and Coach Spags, they're not going to have Chris Jones in there every down. He's literally from probably Week 1 and 2 going to be a rotational guy to get him up to speed. And the reason why I view that as a stock down is because that hurts the defense at the end of the day. As I mentioned time in and time out on this channel, the depth behind Chris Jones is, to me, there's not much. And that can hurt the defense moving forward. Now, it begs to differ to see what they can do this year, but on paper, it doesn't look that great. So I hope Chris Jones signs soon, but also if he holds out to and misses actual games, it affects the team in whole. I know Chris Jones is trying to get his money, but also from a team perspective and a defense perspective, it just hurts all around. And I hope we can find a way to move forward, get him back, and have him being Chris Jones and being the defensive tackle we know and love. Now we going back and we gonna trend up, and of course I gotta stay in the wide receiver room, and I gotta go with the guy who went berserk, went bananas, Ihmir Smith-Marsette. And honestly, he put on a show that I wasn't even expecting or anticipating. Now I'm going to be fully glued in this Saturday against the Cleveland Browns, and I want to see him out there full time and shining out. You know he's going to be balling and going to be doing everything he can to make this roster or put good tape out there to make another team. And I really don't know what's going to happen. My initial thoughts right now is he's not going to make the team, unfortunately, but man, if he literally puts a similar performance or does a better production performance against the Cleveland Browns, he's going to make it hard for Dave Tope, for Coach Reid, and for Matt Nagy to be like, yeah, we can't just let him go. So he's going to be one of those guys who I'm going to be heavily interested in, heavily involved in, and also rooting for as well, because he's one of those guys, a very highly talented player, one of those explosive guys that is coming from a couple situations where they didn't work out, and now he has an opportunity. And I hope his opportunity is with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm excited to see what he does this Saturday. I don't know how it's going to unfold, but let's let the cards lay how they will. And let's go back to the stock down, and this one has been concerning me for a little bit now going into this week, and it's a starter. It's cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, and I know he's missed the majority, actually, if not all of training camp, every preseason game so far. And we've been kind of pushing away his injury because we don't think it's nothing too serious. We just hear it's knee swelling. Well, again, we're getting really close to week 1, 14 days away. And the fact that L'Jarius Sneed hasn't been in training camp, hasn't played a game, is kind of worrisome for me. But also, I love the depth more in the cornerback room than, say, Chris Jones missing and then on the D-line. I think the cornerback room can hold up for a week or two with Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams. Those are serviceable cornerbacks, but what L'Jarius Sneed does for this offense, specifically in Spag's scheme, is special. And he would definitely be a missing piece. But also, this may be the reason why they drafted Shamari Connors. Not saying they knew about a L'Jarius Sneed injury, but like I mentioned, a future replacement. I know that may be bizarre and crazy to think about, but we've seen Shamari Connors play that L'Jarius Sneed role. And if he has to do it in the regular season, he's definitely someone to keep your eyes peeled open for. But we do need L'Jarius Sneed on the field, and I'm just concerned at the point, what is knee swelling? Like, is it something that's going to keep him out like a while? We hear the infamous Coach Reid day-to-day, where we don't know what the heck that means. Day-to-day, going back in the Eric Berry days, meant months. Now, we're going weeks on a L'Jarius Sneed knee swelling day-to-day. Hopefully he's able to get healthier sooner rather than later, and we can see him playing some good football. Now, for my final guy whose stock is up, I could have went in so many different areas because in last week's preseason game, a lot of players shined. But I wanted to highlight a guy who I don't know if I'll have the chance to highlight again. And it is running back La'Mical Perine. And he played very, very solid. And he is starting to show out in camp as well. Again, the reason I wanted to mention him was I don't know if he will be on this 53-man roster, but I wanted to recognize him for what he has done so far for this team. And he is really, really fighting to be either a running back 3 or a running back 4 if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to carry that many running backs going into this year. But he's elusive. He's speedy. He's honestly, in every preseason game so far, looked like the Kansas City Chiefs' best back, besides Jerick McKinnon, because Jerick McKinnon, he still looks like Jerick McKinnon, and it's hard to outdo him. But I have been impressed with what I've seen from Perine, and I didn't expect much. So the fact when you go from a low level to, okay, now you caught my eyes and you show you can be a player on this team is very exciting. And I'm also excited to see him like Marset against the Browns because he's going to be fighting for a roster spot, if not fighting to make someone else's roster. It's going to be so difficult for the Kansas City Chiefs because all these players I'm mentioning with Marset, with Perine, and there's many more. Once they don't make the Kansas City Chiefs roster, they're not going to make their practice squad. That's how talented this group is. And the fact that we're just now coming around and recognizing Perine is a big ups and kudos to him. And I'm excited to see what he does in this final game. Now for my final guy, and we got to end it on a sour note, and we got to talk about the stock down. And this one is a little bit of surprising because I don't know what's going on in this situation. But it's undrafted rookie running back Deneric Prince. Literally, throughout training camp and even preseason week 1, I think that's when we started to see the hype kind of level out a lot. But during training camp, the hype train was crazy. Chiefs Kingdom was all excited for him. And then when preseason week 1 came, it's like, okay, he didn't do much for us. And a lot of Chiefs Kingdom jumped off that hype train. And it seems like so did the Kansas City Chiefs. Because when we went into preseason week 2, he wasn't your starting kick returner, and he wasn't even involved in the run game that much. Actually, why I mentioned La'Mical Perine was because he took the majority of Deneric Prince's snaps that he had in week 1. So it's like, okay, how did Deneric Prince find himself in the doghouse so quickly? Because he didn't do really anything too bad. It's just he didn't look that impressive or great in week 1. So I was kind of thrown off. because again, it wasn't anything too crazy. Now, maybe they wanted to see more, or they wanted to see the kind of depth they had in the running back room. But from a guy Chiefs Kingdom had as a legit running back 3 to where they thought he was going to push Clyde Edwards-Helaire out the door to now, I don't even think Deneric Prince may make this roster. This Saturday's game against the Browns is huge for Deneric Prince to where if he wants a roster spot or even a practice squad spot, he's going to have to ball out or show improvements from the prior 2 weeks. Everyone's still heavily zoned into Deneric Prince. I'm still a big fan of the Fresh Prince of Kansas City. I just want to see him do it in a game. I say that a lot about every rookie or a player I haven't seen. And right now, Deneric Prince needs to answer that bell. I do believe he probably won't make this roster, but if he has a good game, he'll make this practice squad. And even honestly, even if he doesn't, he will. The Kansas City Chiefs love the talent there. He just needs a little bit time to grow into himself, and that's the perfect opportunity of what the practice squad is all about. And with that, Chiefs Kingdom, those are my 3 guys who I have stock up, and unfortunately 3 guys who I have a stock down for. You let me know some guys that you thought was very positive or negative for the Kansas City Chiefs Week 2 performance over the Arizona Cardinals. With that, before I do close out, remember, I will be going live this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, to recap and follow the Kansas City Chiefs' final preseason game over the Browns. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that. And if you did like this video, please hit that big thumbs up. I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.